So I've got my fabric out from the garage where I was drying it out. It's fully stiffened now with the 50/50 stiffener. Both of them are been stiffened, and the both using 50/50. And now I've got my Vlisofix, which has got a layer of paper and it's got a layer of fusing material. And for the purposes of this project, what I'm going to get you to do is to just gently peel off the fusing like this. And if you do it slowly and evenly, you should be able to get everything off without ripping and tearing it. The paper, don't throw that away because that's good. It's good as a pressing paper, and when you're using this Vlisofix, you kind of need to have it so that you're not letting it touch anything that you don't want it to stick to, because it will stick to the ironing board, it'll stick to your fabric, it'll stick to whatever you put it near. So I'm going to just do this. I think my GP on Silk's a bit bigger than the other one, so I'll just lay that nice and flat on there. Oh, it is quite a bit bigger, doesn't matter. For the purposes of this, we're happy. So you can see now I've got a layer of Vlisofix and a layer of the fabric, and I've got a few little offcuts of Vlisofix here, which I can again just remove the paper, peel that off, and I can just do a little bit of a patch job here, and that wastes a bit less of the fabric. Okay, that'll do me, I think. Oh, maybe a little bit more. Again, just rub it back and forth between your hands, and then you can peel it off relatively easily. And that goes like that. And don't do too much with double thickness of the Vlisofix, because that has its own, you know, if it's over sticky, it'll actually penetrate your fabric and make it look a bit revolting, so don't go there. Okay, so I'm just going to cut that and just put that there like that. That's okay. And this one, I want to see this shiny side, not the matte side. So just be aware when you're putting it all together which side you've got against the fabric. Okay, smooth that out. Now it's all trussed from here. So here's my paper, which I have just peeled the stuff off, and I'm just going to plonk the iron on there and very slowly move about. Now this is probably a video that's going to be on a par with watching paint dry in terms of excitement levels, but rest assured, if your fabric does not stick together, it's because you've been in too much of a hurry to get the ironing done. So that's got me started, and it feels good and hot. Yes, the iron likes to have a complaint. Now over the edge here, I can see that I've got my my Vlisofix sticking out, so I'm not going to iron out that far. And later on, you can actually just cut it down so that it's a suitable width, and that only the fused fabrics are going to work, aren't going to be done. Now I'll just give you a bit of a heads up about how to, you know how I was cutting stripes of fabric so that I could, there's a bit of Vlisofix sticking out from there as well. So this paper will help, but around about now it's not fully stuck, or it's not stuck much at all there. Party time. Okay, here we go. Take out the big guns and just give it a good bit of pressing so that it starts to stick. See, it's sticking now. Now, before we go any further, we can just cut the edges so that we don't iron anything onto the ironing board. And this is where it's sort of good idea to cover your ironing board with some calico if you're doing it at home, or use one of those boards covered in calico, which I showed you when we were in class, which you can pull out and use and then put away. Yeah. Rightio. So we're getting close. The other thing that you just need to be aware of, sometimes, well, I like you to keep the Blyzofix inside the area of the fabric, so it's probably going to mean that you will have a little line down the side here where there's no Blyzofix. So just be aware when you're cutting your fabric into the strips that you get it so that it's completely fused. So this will take as long as it takes. But once you've got that prepared, if you don't need to use it all in one time, I've got a plastic tub with fused fabrics in it, and often I find myself searching for just the right colour, and it's there ready to go. So that's kind of handy. And if I flip this over, yes, complain. I'm not exactly sure what the imperfection in the colour is there, but guess what? No one's going to see that. By the time we've scrunched all the flowers up, which you're going to see in the next video, it's going to be completely impossible to see. So that's just about ready to go. Okay, so depending on the, yeah, I can see that's not stuck, so I'm going to just do a preliminary line here and get rid of that, because I don't really want non-stuck petals. And then just if you decide the size that you want, hang on, I've got this selvage has got to go as well. Now this is a square, and it sort of reaches from my end of my hand halfway up my upper arm. I think I've got about 5 flowers out of this. It does depend a bit on the size of your flowers, but that's I think that's probably about 1/2 metre square. I can measure it later if you're interested, but I think that's pretty much it. And yeah, whatever it takes to get it stuck, and you'll always be doing it. So let's say I want to do a nice big flower to start. I'm just going to cut off a strip like that, and see how that's a bit ripply. I've got to give that another press. Then I'm just going to do my squares. So I've got 1, 2, 3. I can count. So that's enough there for 1 flower. You saw how much it was to start with. And each of those is roughly square, and this one looks like it needs a little bit more to be smoothed out. So just give that a bit of pressure with the iron. And yep, it's come back to looking pretty good. And then you do your cutting, which I think I've shown you in another video, but just in case, round that off at the top. Don't worry too much about the shape, because by the time you're doing your scrumpling up, those shapes will not even be recognisable. Why don't I just do one to show you, just to be on the safe side that you fully get all this info on board. So there's the shape that's been pressed, and when it's pressed it softens everything up, and you can do the scrumpling up. And then, as I've said, I'll show you again in the next video, but I'm just giving that a little bit of a press on the edge of the ironing board, and I'm just going to give it a little twist like this, and that's one of my petals. And you can see it's got a little bit of a curve going there. Now, starting to get a bit of a cluster here. I'm a bit proud of these. So that's what we're going to end up with when we make them. Okay, enjoy.